Hi, John G. Kruth here from the Rhine Research Center, and today we're going to talk about clairvoyance. Clairvoyance, if you might remember, is one of the forms of ESP or extrasensory perception, telepathy being mind-to-mind communication, precognition being getting information through time, and clairvoyance being getting information about objects. Now, oftentimes the objects are far away from you. Sometimes they can be as close as in a drawer behind you. And one of the things that people talk about when they talk about clairvoyance is remote viewing as being a form of clairvoyance. Remote viewing, I have a couple books here. This is by Joe McMoneagle. These two here, Mind Track, Remote Viewing Secrets. There's also a book by Ingo Swann, Natural ESP, who's one of the founders of the remote viewing movement. Here's a book by Paul Smith, who is the president of the International Association of Remote Viewing. IRVA. And so these are just some different, but we're not going to get into remote viewing today. Today, we're going to stick with clairvoyance and how it was originally studied when they first started studying clairvoyance. We'll talk about remote viewing in another video. So, you might remember from one of our telepathy videos that we talked about Zener cards or ESP cards and using these symbols for ESP cards. And we talked about how they would use this screen, which had the cards on the one side, and we'd have a person, a researcher, sitting on one side, and on the other side would be someone trying to guess what cards were being used. Now, in a telepathy experiment, when we have these ESP cards here with all the different symbols on it, they would shuffle them up. This is how they were done back in the 1930s when they originally started the Rhine lab, and they continued to do this through the 50s and on into the 60s as well. Some people still do Zener card or ESP card experiments today, but mostly we use computers for most of this now. But they would shuffle the cards just as I did, and you can see the bottom card, but on the other side of the screen, the person wouldn't be able to see because the screen would block all sight between the two. So they would take the cards, and in a telepathy experiment, they would turn the first card, whatever it might be, and the person would look at it, the researcher would look at it, and try to send information about that card to the other person. That's telepathy, mind-to-mind communication. But in a typical clairvoyance experiment, they would not look at the card. So they would take the top card and say, guess the next card, and they would set it down. But the researcher would never look at it. So it couldn't be telepathy because the researcher isn't looking at it. And they would continue this way throughout the entire deck. And once they went through 25 cards, remember, a deck is 5 symbols, 5 of each symbol for a total of 25 cards. Once they went through all 25 cards without looking at them, they would then record, the person would be recording their guesses, and they would say, okay, let's compare your guesses to what the cards actually were, and they'd look at them and they'd count up how many matches there were. Again, just as in the telepathy experiment, all the Zener Cards experiments use the same statistics. You would expect by chance to see 5 out of 25 correct. If you get more than 5 out of 25, you're getting to a point you might be demonstrating ESP, extrasensory perception. But until you get to 9 out of 25 is a 95% chance that you might be demonstrating ESP. 11 out of 25 is a 99% chance, and higher than that is even better. Now, of course, you can't just do one run and get the answers and say, oh, I'm psychic. No, you'd have to do it over hundreds and thousands of times. Do it many, many times and demonstrate a clear 9 out of 25 or a clear 11 out of 25 average for each deck in order to have any scientist say you seem to be demonstrating ESP. Many people get really lucky and have a really good first run. Some people have a really bad first run. They might have a number of bad runs in a row, but over a long period of time, the idea is to see how it averages out. So this is just one of the ways that they studied clairvoyance early on in the lab. We'll talk about more in future videos. Thank you.